Hi everyone, good evening. Testing the mic. Can you hear me? Very well. Hi Kendrick. Hi Precious. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Hi, good evening.
Hi Precious, how are you? Okay,
I'm
can
fine.
welcome Oyin Kasola. I'm sorry, sorry, sorry that I'm massacring your name. Ogundele, I
Oh,
think.
don't worry, it's fine. Good evening.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
All good, all good. Nice to have you here. I believe I saw you in the first class. Um,
Yes, I was in the first class.
all right, all right. All good. I don't know for some reason a lot of persons are not here. I don't know what their reason is, but we'll soldier on regardless and try to learn as much as we can today. So, are you? What is your experience level in design? Because I know Kendrick is a senior man now. What I'm asking you, Gundele, what's your?
I do UI UX designing, like it's my everyday thing.
Oh, okay. So you're more experienced. You're also experienced.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. I think the topic we had today was meant to be much more beginner friendly, and strangely enough, all the beginners are not here. I don't know. I do not know. We will discuss as much as we can, but if we don't find them, then maybe we don't go as far. Or if we don't have the beginners here, we don't go as far because some of them might not be relevant to you. And the persons here. So the intention today was to discuss UI design as a topic, and I think in the first class we spoke about what UI design is. It's the process designers use to create interfaces on digital devices. So I think that is something we've already established, and we want to look at the key components. Different parts of UI, and there are a few key components of design that we're all aware of: layout and structure, typography, color and contrast, icons and imagery, and interactive elements. And each of them play a key role in creating a visually aesthetic design. So the image you have on the right side of this slide is trying to communicate these components that we're speaking about. The layout of the design, the typography, the color and contrast, the icons, imagery, and the elements on the screen all combine together to make this visually stunning design. Okay, great. So as I was saying, all of these key components come together to make up this visually stunning landing page we have on the side of the screen. And what makes a UI good? What makes it a very good UI? I think, in summary, I would say that users are able to find what they're looking for on the screen easily. But you can break that down into a few things: clarity and simplicity, in a way that you're not using complex language, you're not reinventing the wheel. So everyone knows what the button looks like. It looks like a pill or a rectangle. You don't now decide to make button what is not, and cause complexity because you're trying to reinvent the wheel. We know what a search bar looks like. We know what an MP3 looks like. We know all of those things. So keeping it simple and making it easy for people to understand what is on the screen is one of the things that makes a UI really good. You will find that the best designs, the most usable designs, are the ones that have um, the least things on the screen. So the very little items, very little colors, and a lot of things going on there. At the end of the day, it's very easy for people to process. I think apps like again, I like to use fintech apps as an example. I think one of the apps that I would find to be a really good example is OPay. Again, because they have created something that is really simple. I have given this application to people that are much older, let me say someone in their 50s, to use, and they were able to understand. And this is not someone, or the person was not someone that was really tech savvy. They struggle with every other thing. The kind of people that need help to do something on their Facebook on their WhatsApp. People that don't even know there's something like WhatsApp status. And I gave the person the app after setting it up, creating an account for them, to use it, and they were able to understand where things were. That is a good UI, something that is clear, even to older persons to understand. So it needs to be consistent, of course. If you're using specific colors, if you're using specific colors or typography or icons or whatnot, it needs to be very consistent. And that is why systems, styles are important when doing UI design. You need to have a consistent system across a project. So you have your color system, your typography system, your spacing system, iconography, things like that. Even if you're using shadows, you have a system for that, and so on and so forth. So consistency is really important, and it makes your product stand out. So whatever product you design with consistency, anyone that looks at it can see the quality of the work being done. Of course, for us that are designers, a lot of persons find it hectic, if I'll use the word hectic, to create styles when doing projects. So you find it maybe time consuming to create styles while doing projects. It actually pays you in the long term to have those styles in place before creating designs, or while creating designs, to be able to achieve consistency. Otherwise, you're going to find that maybe on one screen you have used 16 pixels as your button text, and on another screen you're using 14 pixels, which creates complexity for the developers and creates inconsistency across the project. So that is something that one of the things that make a UI very good. Again, using OP as an example, you find that the styling, the visuals are consistent across many pages. The only place I'm finding consistency is the graphic design. I don't know who does that for them, but that one is really inconsistent. Are you following, please? So let me know, because a lot of persons spoke about network problems. Let me know if you're following.
Yes, we're following.
All right, great. Visual hierarchy, of course, tries to, like I say, platform elements on the screen based on their importance. So visual hierarchy tries to highlight the most important things using different methods. It can be size, it can be color, it can be contrast. So the goal of visual hierarchy is to be able to put things according to their scale of importance. So on this screen, for example, um, you're able to find quickly where a search bar is. You can see some numbers around the analytics, cash flow, credit score. You can see your profile notifications. There are a lot of things on the screen, and visual hierarchy enables you to be able to point out or push the users the ones that is most important to them. And of course, intuitive in the sense that it's easy for you to understand how to navigate across it. So very similar to clarity and simplicity. And accessibility. So accessibility focuses on providing design that is available to people with different disabilities. And in design, I think most of this accessibility speaks to visual disabilities, people with color blindness, people with different color problems, and what a good UI design does is to look out for these accessibility issues when creating designs. Is there anyone here that has any experience with accessibility when making designs? Anyone? I think one of the times I spoke about accessibility, not maybe in my company actually we spoke about accessibility as a topic. Maybe at another time I'll cover that as a designer, of course. Maybe another time I'll cover that topic. I'll cover that topic. Accessibility. It's a really important part of design. Um, It's something that a lot of persons don't look at, but it plays a very key role in creating designs because there's different kind of users that you come across um, in your product. All right. So having spoken about that, I wanted to go into you know into the visual part of things. So iOS is Android mobile design. Um, Obviously, if you're already designing, you would know that material design and human interface guidelines cover for both designing for Android and designing for iOS devices. And the key things to note are the placement of titles on the screens, the system fonts, the styling. So uh, iOS prefers to use flat design. Flat design is basically using strokes instead of shadows. And material design for Android prefers to use shadows in their design. So icon styles, you will also see the difference. One prefers to use field icons, one prefers to use stroke icons, and different button styles. So I put in some of the resources here highlighted in material design and human interface guidelines. So you can read up on the slide and to be able to understand fully the differences between these two guys. And for you that is already designing, what I would advise you to do is to go to the Figma community and search for material design. Material design, I think UI3 or material design 3, I think that's what they call it now. You find the updated Android specific elements that you can use. Maybe let's actually do that now so you can understand what I'm saying. Let me share my screen. So let me go to the community. Let me go to the community. Let's search for material design. So you can see the material design, three design kits, and it's being used by 908,000 persons. So I think this is the one. This is the one that we're looking for. Let me open it. All right. Can you see my screen, please? I don't know which screen you're seeing. Let me try to share this one. Okay, yes. All right, so please, can you see my screen? I can't hear from anyone. Can you see my screen? All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. So you can see the material three design kit here, and it has a few things that you might find to be useful when creating designs. So button bars, badges, buttons, things that you might use if you're creating. So you can see here that there are shadows underneath these elements, and these are part and parcel of the Android design space. So this is the opposite of flat design, use of shadows. I personally don't find them nice. I don't find them too good looking, but fortunately, that's the way it is. So if you come here, you're going to see quite a lot of things around navigation. How it is designed in its entirety. So let me go back to this guy. Um, yeah, so you can see. I think there are more around the navigation, the uh, action buttons, all of those things. So when you go to the slide, I'm going to share it. You can read through it and see for yourself what. All right. So I also wanted to speak briefly on usability heuristics and the use of that in visual design. So usability heuristics, is this something that you are familiar with? Anyone? Anyone at all? No? Kendrick, is this something you're familiar with? If your network would allow you. Okay. Great. So usability heuristics is one of important principles that you have in design in creating effective and user-friendly designs. So this one, there are a lot of usability heuristics that exist, but this one is a most used for whatever reason of the most known. If I have to use that, so I think it's Jacob Nielsen's usability heuristics, and it speaks on 10 important things to know or 10 principles in that part. So visibility of system status is the first one. And what it's basically saying is that whenever a user is using a product or doing something, performing a task, it should always inform the users about what is going on, through feedback. So I'll give you, for example, if you're trying to make payment on an app, again, I'm going to use OPay because I like them. If you make a payment on an app, you would like to know at the moment you've clicked the button to say pay, to know if the payment is ongoing, if the payment is successful, if the payment has failed. So visibility of system status requires you in your design to make sure that the user at all times understand what's going on with with their transaction. So for example, on OPay, if you make a payment on the transaction detail, you're going to see an informative section that says the transaction has left us. The transaction is going to this person, and the bank has yet to confirm. So, looking at that, the user thoroughly understands what is going on, and if at any point in time that uh, the transaction fails, they will know exactly what has happened and why it failed. And if there's failure, they can also inform you that there's failure. So visibility of status requires you to always inform the users what is going on. If you have experienced something like that where you are using a product and something is going on and you don't even know, maybe you have clicked a button, it's not giving any response. Maybe it's successful, it doesn't give you any response. It just takes you to the next page. That creates a bit of confusion and it's actually bad UX in itself. Um, so I think that is a very simple way of explaining the first part that says visibility of system status. The second one says match between system and real world. So that one basically is speaking to language. Use words, phrases, and concepts that are familiar to users. That is why in e-commerce design, the use of carts is very popular. Because when you go to a shopping mall, you collect items and put them inside a cart, right? A strolling cart. And that is the same way it's used in UI design. When you are selecting items on an e-commerce website, it is going into a cart, and at the end of the day, you can decide to check out that cart. The same way it operates in the real world. I don't know if you understand that. Um, so that is the same way. The delete icon usually signifies a waste bin, and so on and so forth. So edit usually is a pen. So there are so many things that you'd see in the visual design world that tries to mimic the physical world or the physical experience that we have. And that the intent is for it to be easy to understand, even without seeing a lot of words, you understand what it means. Okay. And the next thing is user control and freedom. So, it's basically enabling users to have the right to correct mistakes when they have them or when they make them. So that is why a lot of products have undo and redo. If I have to use that. So Control Z, Control Y, all of those shortcuts that enables you to correct mistakes. If you delete something, you have a span of time when you can undo that delete. If you edit some, you have the option of editing things over and over. Now, that is you giving the users control and freedom to make choices. So, if a user feels like if they take an action and they can't undo it, they can't fix it anymore, it gives anxiety and it might actually lead to users, going away from taking actions on that page. Even when the actions are permanent, giving them that information that if you take this action, you'll not be able to reverse it, is a way of giving them control. They know now if I do this, I can't go back, and they can now decide to make a choice to go forward or to go backwards. Okay, and the other important thing is consistency and standards. Of course, you mentioned that when talking about design, UI design. So having a very consistent design across board is a very good experience for a lot of users. You don't want to come into one page, it looks in one way, and then when you go to another page, it looks different. That is usually what you find in the scam website. And if to create trust and to ensure that your products has a lot of quality across, consistency is really important. And error prevention is the other part. And error prevention comes in many ways. So you find that in input fields when users are maybe trying to create a password, you're informing them what requirements are. You should you're required to use a capital letter. You're required to use a symbol. You're required to use small letter, things like that. That helps users understand where or understand how to avoid making mistakes in creating that password, for example. So there are a lot of ways, depending on the product, you need to be able to guide users from making mistakes. On OPay, again, for example, if you're trying to make a big payment of, let's say, 500K, they are going to try to, give you a confirmation model to make sure that you are the one deciding to make this choice. You're not making a mistake. Maybe you wanted to enter 50K and instead enter 500K. You have to confirm that you're not making a mistake in that aspect. Okay. And I don't know if anyone here has experienced that. Anyone, if you try to make payments, I think the app is the only place where I've actually seen that. If you're trying to make any big payment, maybe 300K, 400K, they're going to give you a confirmation model and you're going to put your face to confirm that, yes, I'm the one that decided to make this payment. No one is putting gun on my head, that kind of thing. And it's a form of error prevention because you find that, of course, human beings are capable of making that kind of mistake where you want to pay 10K and instead, by mistake, you put 100K. It happens. I also hope that in the future they implement that with airtimes as well, because that's another place where people make that kind of mistake. You want to recharge 1,000 or 10,000, you end up putting 100K. That is by the way. So recognition instead of recall. So this one speaks to making again. I'll use clarity of the design as one of the examples again. If you create a design that is clear and easy to understand, you see that users are easily going to pick up, the understanding, the architecture of that product instead of trying to understand again what was the process the last time. Again, going back to OPay, whenever you come in, you have transfer to OPay, transfer to bank, and these are the two options that you know. So whenever you come in there, you are going to know where these options are, and you see that others apps have similar design to retain that recognition. So once you come in, you have the option of pay to PalmPay, pay to other banks, pay to MoneyPoint, pay to other banks. It's a mental model that users already have. So instead of trying to make things difficult for them, you create that design that enables them to recognize a pattern instead of trying to understand something new. Um, okay, so the other thing is flexibility and efficiency of use, and that requires you to give users options for shortcuts, where possible, to be able to find things and giving them a lot of methods to get into one place. Again, flexibility is, for example, if I go to OPay and say I want to pay, I choose the option to pay to another bank, and I go there and enter an OPay number, it's still going to show me an OPay account and I can pay from there, right? That is a flexible design in the sense that if if you design it in a way that if I enter anything that is not another bank's number there, that I won't be able to progress, that would be a difficult design. So giving that flexibility for the users is also important as an important principle for usability. So aesthetic and minimalist design, having a clean looking design, something that is visually stunning is always a good way to attract users. So once let me ask this question so I make this a bit interactive. Like, what would you say is the most aesthetic product that you've used in terms of design? Whether a website or a mobile app, anyone. You can unmute and speak. Anyone? Yeah. You say what? Did you say GT Bank? Yeah, but your mic is kind of in and out. But yeah, I've gotten what I wanted. You say GT Bank because you love the use of colors. All right. Thank you very much. McQueen, you wanted to say something. Child deck. Okay. So why do you let's say apart from the aesthetics, why is there any other thing you like about their design? Child deck, of course, is a really popular product of food, and their color choices are really interesting. I think they have a couple of colors. Let's see. Let me actually check. They have up to five colors in their design, which is a really difficult thing to pull off. If I'm being honest with you, anyone that has designed a lot of products will understand how difficult it is to pull off a very clean design, a consistent design with 4 to 5 colors. Now you can do that on one screen. To do that across a product, a complete product is not easy. So I think I really like Chowder's aesthetics. It's really inviting, as you said, for a product that sells food. Duolingo, yes, I agree as well. Duolingo is really nice. Kendrick, you wanted to say something? Calorie wise, okay. I also like Calorie wise design. I used to be a big user of Calorie wise for a very long time, but unfortunately, I ran away from them. I agree. Yeah, once they hold your money like this, if you like, be on your deathbed. That money is not coming out. It's a good thing for people that lack discipline, of course. It's a really good thing, but man, nah. That is by the way. So help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. So I think we've spoken similar to that. This means you should present error messages in a way that's easy for people to understand. So you're trying to log in and it's not wrong password, whatever. You should be able to inform amicably what user is missing out and how they can fix that issue. Okay. Then help and documentation is the last thing. So it's basically having good FAQs, good support where people can easily find, you know, more answers around more answers around what they are looking for. All right. Do you have any questions so far? Do you have any question? All right. I think I spoke about using or making design decisions that make it easy for the user. So instead of creating designs that make it kind of, gives them some kind of task uh, on their memory load to start understanding, to try to recall, you create with designs that are easy to understand. So I spoke about using OP's design, for example, where you have pay to OP and pay to another bank. Um, when you go to PalmPay, you see the same similar design. When you go to MoneyPoint, you see something similar. You go to some other apps, you see something similar because they're trying to make sure that you can easily recognize that pattern when you're on their own. And there are other examples that you could use. So, for example, if you have designed if you have designed maybe a process, let me call it an onboarding flow, for example, where that has many input fields. You fill in a form and go to another page and fill in another form. Maybe you will need to maintain context when you go to the next page. So let me break this down. Let's say you're trying to sign up on a platform to get a job or to find jobs. So the first page is your personal details, right? Your name, date of birth, blah blah blah, all of those things you're putting. The second part might be about your work life. So when you get to that second page, maybe there is something there that requires some information on the first page. Instead of making it a process where users go back and forth, you might have a summary of what you have filled in the first page on that second page. So you can be easily able to recognize instead of trying to go back and recall. So there are many examples of that, but this is just coming from my head. And does that answer your question? Okay, great. So let's move on to the next phase. Let me see. Colors. Um, Colors color is one of the most important fundamentals of design, and that is alongside typography, it's alongside layouts, it's alongside icons and things I mentioned before. And it is something that a lot of persons struggle with in design, and I think I would say this in general: if you master use of colors, use of typography and layout in design, you'll be able to create any kind of visually aesthetic design. These three things are it's like the basic. Once you are unable to learn it properly, you will struggle to create good designs. Even you can easily go and recreate someone's design. You can go somewhere and copy someone's design and do, but to create a design, it will be difficult for you. You recreating someone's design is easy because you don't know the decisions the person made. You can just copy and do whatever they did, but you creating your own requires you to understand a few things. And why is color very important? It helps in creating visual hierarchy and guides user attention. It enhances usability and accessibility when used well. It strengthens brand identity and emotional connection. So this speaks to color psychology. Color psychology is it basically speaks to what the emotions that colors give. Just like Martin mentioned with what's their name, the child deck guys. You know, some colors evoke specific emotions when seen. If, for example, that food delivery app went with red, it will be giving a different feel. But their color choices are more vibrant, more exciting, more youthful, speaking to their target audience. And that is where brand identity and emotional connection comes into play. So making those choices, you need to understand why you choose specific colors, and I think that is something that you have to read up on color psychology, understand what each color means and what emotions each color evokes. But as something to note here is that there are colors that are well accepted in many situations, and blue is one of them. Different shades of blue are used in almost any kind of situation and it works. It's more of a universal color, accepted by both genders, accepted in many industries. So, but that's just something I want to put out there. Before you go and study color psychology, I need to know this. It's very difficult to go wrong with blue. In fintech, you find blue. In healthcare, you find blue. In fashion, you even find blue. In wherever you can think of, you find blue. It's there, but different shades. Might be lighter one, might be darker one. Okay, so on the right side of this slide is obviously the color wheel. The color wheel speaks to how colors interact with each other in general, and forget all this how complicated it looks here, but you just have two sides to it. You have warm colors on the left, and you have the cold colors or the cool colors on the other side of it. And maybe we'll be able to talk about color schemes and color theories on this part. And as a rule of the thumb, if you're okay, maybe instead of talking before I talk about it, let's look at these color schemes. Okay, let me try to share this screen. 1 minute. Let's look at color schemes and how colors interact with each other. So I'm trying to share a color wheel created by Canva that allows you to understand. I don't know why it's lagging. All right. Can you see my screen? Ah, I don't think I've shared that yet. Share this tab instead. All right. You can't hear me clearly. Is there any other person struggling to hear me? Yeah, can hear me well. Okay, might be your network then. You can't. Okay, might be your network. Kingsley. I think. All right. Let's look at color wheel. Why is this? I don't know what the problem is on my side now. Can't see anything again. This is screen is just showing white. I don't know if my stuff is lagging. What do you see on your screen? I see the color wheel, right? Why can't I see that? Let me refresh this page. All right, great. So there are different color schemes that exist, and each of them works in a different way to give you a result. So let me start from beginning. So the first well-known color scheme is the monochromatic color scheme, and what monochrome color schemes does is to choose different shades of one color. So a monochrome scheme basically means I have blue, like Facebook. If you look at Facebook app, Facebook has blue as a primary color, right? But if you look at the app properly, you will see that there are many different shades of blue going on that app. There are different shades. So you have some lighter versions, you have some darker versions in different places, and that's a monochrome color scheme going on there. It enables you to choose one color and then use it in many different ways. So, for example, let's pick. Oh, look at that here. So look at this color here now. This purple color here now has different shades, right? You can see that already. It has different shades of it here. So if you were to design an app, okay, they even explain this here. If you are to design an app, this monochromatic If you decide to go with monochromes, it means you have chosen this color and you're going to work with different shades of it across your design or your product. So the second one is complementary colors, and complementary colors makes use of two colors across the color wheel. So you see that when I move this thing around, it picks two colors opposite side of the wheel. So as I mentioned before, on the left side you have one colors, on the right side you have two colors, right? So it's basically picking one color on the right and one color on the left and combining them in a design. So this also it's a very powerful way of using colors to be able to create really stunning designs. And but for you to be able to make this choice, you need to first understand what your primary color is. And that primary color is determined by the brand, the product that you're trying to build, and the color psychology, the emotions you're trying to give. That is the thing. What's their name? Childek, for example, I think their primary color is green. I can't confirm that, green or yellow, one of them. But it is the primary color that informs the rest of the colors that you're doing, the rest of the choices that you're making. So and that goes the same way into the rest. So you can see analogous is basically having three colors that are together. So this is three different colors on one side of the wheel. You can make that choice. So if you come here and choose analogous, it's going to give you this. So the good thing to know is that you don't have to pick out the color wheel whenever you want to make color choices. There are a lot of tools that exist that enable you to do these things quite easily. Okay, colors.co is one of them, and we'll look at that in a bit. Um, so we're speaking of analogous color scheme where you have three colors on one side of the wheel. It can be this next three, it can be this next three, it can be any of them, and you combine them, it gives you a very powerful design look. So you can see because I've chosen this color now, it's giving me other options that match with this on the color wheel. So let's say that I move to this one. This is a combination. I move to blue. This is a combination. So just like that, so on and so forth. So if you can move to triadic, so triadic is basically you having a triangular view of the color scheme of the color wheel to pick colors. So one at the top, one on the side, one on the side, and you have three colors that you can combine. So if you do that here, triadic, it gives you three different colors, right? And you can use that in a design. Tetradic is basically having a rectangular view of the color wheel instead of triangular in this case. And I think that is what people like Chaldea could have done in getting the kind of colors that they have used. Okay, you're able to get very vibrant colors, and you're able to combine them to make uh, to make very stunning designs. So that is basically what it is. And as I've mentioned, you in creating using all of these color schemes, you need to first recognize what your primary color is. That is really important. If you recognize what your primary color is, then you can talk about your secondary colors and the rest of the colors, tertiary or whatever. And in creating colors, you need this is very important to know when you're creating projects. You need the primary color, you need a secondary color, you need if you're using a tetradic color scheme, for example, where you have four colors or five colors, you might need tertiary colors. And after that, you need neutral colors. Neutral colors are basically gray colors. So different kind of gray is important because looking at this screen that we're looking at now, the text here is in gray. It's not black. It's in gray. So you need gray for text colors. You need it for stroke or border. You need it for different lines on your design. So you need neutral colors. That one you can easily pick that by yourself. Then you need error colors and success colors. So that is basically. Um, Let me actually share the UI kit that we have that I made in the Figma community. Let's look at that. Show you. I think I have something like that there. All right, let me search for UI kits. So this is the UI kits Let me open it up. Um, all right. So I'm going to look at styles where I have these colors to show you. So this is a color system that I have. The reason why I had many of these colors because of the kind of thing I was creating, it required a lot of colors in general. I didn't have. Can you see my screen though? If I continue, can you see my screen? This is landing. All right. So, but if you look at this, you can see different color choices that I've made. So this was lagging for a minute. So you will see different color choices that I've made that I used in design. And purple, I have the success colors. I have one in. I don't need all of these colors to be honest. I might just use one of them, but I just created a range of colors that I might use. I have error colors. Again, I might be using just one of this or two at most. I have the primary color here, which is blue. So this is the primary color. This primary color. This is a supporting color here, secondary color I've used, and then these are neutral colors, and then this is gray colors that I've used. And if you look at some of the designs that have been made, let me see. If you look at some of the designs that have been made, you can see all of those color choices here. Primary, neutral, all of those things are here. You know, something like that. So because of the kind of design that I was making, I you had two important colors, the base color, white and black for the background, primary color here, blue, and then the purple color here. And then the others are supporting. So that is how it usually works when you're trying to create projects. And I think I'll get back to. I'm going to share the link to this Canva color wheel part. So you're going to look at that yourself and try to follow up on that. Okay. So again, these are additional resources. I've also shared the refactoring UI. Now, for the benefit of those that are in this class, it is really important that you look at refactoring UI. If you want to understand UI design, to create good designs, to understand some of the decisions that are behind designs, this is a very important book for you to read. I put a link to my drive where this book is, so you can download it yourself and have a go at it. It's going to really help you. When I started design, I used this book to learn. I think a lot of persons used it. So again, this is the second book that I'm sharing in this class. When I share this slide, go through it and look at this book. It's going to a lot of things I summarized here is going to help you understand them. I've also added a couple of other links about design mistakes, UI, all of those things that we've spoken about today. Design principles, usability heuristics, color usage, all of them you're going to find them here. Okay. Do you have any questions on the one we've spoken about? Do you have any questions? All right, I'm going to speak about one more thing and we'll be done for today. One more thing I'll be done for today. So I'm going to share a new tab and speak about typography. So I've spoken about colors and as part of the UI design. I want to speak about typography now and how that plays a role in creating good designs. So typography is obviously the use of text by definition, and there are different types of typefaces that you come across in design. So important to note, typeface is a term that a lot of persons are not used to. You hear font more frequently, but both of them can mean similar things, but they're not exactly similar. So typeface is a family of fonts, and font in its sense, in its actual definition, is meant to be um, a lower level of a typeface. Let me explain that. So a typeface is like the name Roboto. Roboto is a typeface that everybody you would have once you open Figma. That's the first thing they'll give to you, Roboto or Inter. Those are typefaces that you're very used to. Now, Roboto Regular is a font. Roboto Medium, Roboto Bold, Roboto Italics, or whatever. They are all fonts. But of course, it's not something you need to argue over. People interchange the names, even though it can be wrong, but this is the actual definition of these things. And I've said there are different types of typefaces here. You have serif, sans serif, lab, script, display, and I'm going to talk about each of them in bits. So serif typefaces are usually those type of typefaces that have slight decorative strokes at the end of the letters. So using this picture as an example, this is a serif typeface. The serif typeface has it will have this extension at the end of the letters to show you um, what they are, and they are usually found in print design, but in digital space, you're going to find them more. We're talking about class, romance, sophistication, fashion, luxury. So you've website design, hotel website design, fashion websites, you know, things like that. You'll find a lot of serif typefaces. Of course, people are able to use them in other scenarios, but this is where you find them the most. Okay, are you following? Are you following, please? Okay. Um. All right. Sans serif typefaces. I don't know who changes design here, but sans serif typefaces are basically, I would say, the opposite of serif typefaces in the sense that they do not have those additional slight decorative strokes at the end of it. That is what sans serifs are, and you find them more commonly with in digital space. So all of the typefaces, Roboto that I mentioned initially, um, Inter, all of the typefaces that their name starts with sans, they're all sans serif typefaces. And actually, let me open up Google Fonts. I think Google Fonts is the name, or Font Share, and we can see different. Let me open that. Let me use let me use Font Share. Let me use Font Share, so you can see that. So when you go to Font Share or Google Font, anyone that you choose to do, you can see that you can classify these typefaces based on these definitions that I've given. So if you're looking for a serif typeface, you can see all of those ones that I mentioned, those ones that have those extensions at the end of the letters. You can see them here. Posca, Biscoff, Gambetta, Gambian, all of these guys. And you know, you were able to understand the personality around them, where they are used. I think these guys are okay. They even allow you to classify by personality, informal, modern, corporate, all of these things. And if you're looking for a sans serif typeface, let me remove this guy. You can see them without those extensions. This is more for reading on digital space. So if you're trying to design, uh, serif typefaces might be good for websites, headers. They're not good for reading. Like when you're having paragraphs, when you're having a lot of text, This sans serif is better for it. This ones that we're looking at is better. The other one is better for headers, titles. It's not really good for reading on the digital space. So here, whenever you want to design, you can call check function, you can check Google Fonts, and they can give you good examples of whatever it is that you're looking for. So the other elements of typography that you need to know, baseline, font width, height, size. I'm going to explain some of these items. Let me see. Let me use this one to talk about them. Thank you. So looking at this is the anatomy of typefaces, if you have to call it that. Here we can see baseline, you can see X height, cap height, ascender height. All of these are is long English. But what you need to know, what you need to understand is X height. X height is basically the height of a type or a typeface, the small letter. That is the X height. So when you look at this, or the base of it, when you look at this type now, this X, this N, this I, this is the height of the letter. So everything outside of it doesn't count. So this X height, why is it important? If you look at a lot of on your own, if you go to Figma, pick two typefaces and you're going to see that they have both of them are not of the same size. You pick two typefaces that are 16 pixels in size, you're going to find out that one is bigger than the other, or one is smaller than the other, as the case may be. So X height differs in different typefaces or fonts, as the case may be. And depending on the use case, what they're trying to design, knowing the X height of that typeface is important in making the choice that you want to make. So you have descender height or descender ascender height, and this is basically things that fall outside of the X height. So the ones that are above are the ascenders, and the ones that are below are descenders. It's not something you're going to come across day to day, but they're just terms that you need to know. Okay. And the ones that are more common tracking is the space between characters of a font. So when the spacing is too small, it might be bad for reading. When the spacing is too big, it might be bad for reading. So having a good tracking on your typeface is also very good. I think we'll go to Figma to look at some of these things. And kerning is basically adjusting the space between two characters, as we have spoken about. And leading is or line height is the space between two lines of text. And again, we're going to look at that in Figma to be able to understand what we're saying. So let me move to Figma briefly and speak about it. Mm, all right, 1 minute. Let me share this guy. So let's look at some of the things that I mentioned here on Figma to understand what we're speaking about. Are you following, please? Are you following anyway? Please let me know if you're following. All right, great, great, great. So this is some of the tasks I wanted to do, but again, people are missing today. But that's not a problem. But notwithstanding, let me quickly just draw a frame. So we can talk about a few things that I mentioned. So I'm going to write a text. So let me actually just pick this guy. All right. So I'm going to speak about a few things. So the first thing we talked about was tracking, and that is letter spacing, the space between letters. And right now, if you look at Figma, you can see on this side letter spacing. You see where my cursor is, you can see letter spacing. So that is what determines the spacing between each of these letters. Let me zoom into it. So one right now I have 1% as my letter spacing, and that makes for good readability. But if you, for example, make it 10%, Can see that stretches out the text, and this is good for reading. It's not good for reading at all. And again, if I make this minus 5%, it makes it very, very close to each other, which is also not very great for reading. So this is important for you to note. You can use 0 or 1 depending on the typeface. Some of them need adjustment when you start using them, but with your eye, you're able to see when a typeface is bad, when it looks bad for reading. The reason why you have paid typefaces, one of the reasons why you have, not the main reason, but one of the reasons why you have is that some of them have taken their time to adjust all the things I need to adjust in a typeface. So the line height, the not the line height, the letter spacing, tracking, all of those things. They've done it for you. So once you buy, you start using. But some of these free ones are not always like that, and you might need to do some work to have it to look like what you want. So the other thing we spoke about was line height, and line height is basically the distance or the space between two lines of text, um, or the spacing between two lines of text. So now looking at this this paragraph here, it's quite easy to go from line to line, um, because the line height here is 29. Now, one of the ways you're able to create line height is, in general, there is a rule of the thumb that between 140 and 160% of the text size is good to create a good line height. And what I mean by that is this. So let's say this is currently 18, the text size is currently 18. If I go to line height and type in 140%, it's going to give me a line height for this particular text. Now, looking at this text, one of the reasons why 140% will not work is because it makes the different lines of text come together too close to each other. And I don't know if for those that read books or PDFs, you might have experienced something where you basically are reading and then find out that you skipped a line of text. The reason why that typically happens is when the line height between the text is too short. It makes it easy for you to miss lines of text, to jump from one line to another and start missing up text. So this 140% doesn't work for this particular text, but you can have another typeface and it works. So now this I'm going to give you like 150%. 150%. And this is it. This is a bit better than what we had previously. So let me make the example that I was saying where you have another typeface. Let me use let's say Open Sans. Let's choose another typeface. Let's say Open Sans. Do I have that? Okay. Open Sans seems to be similar. I use enter. So this is enter, and despite the fact that both of these guys are 1%, in terms of the tracking, you can see that it feels in a way that this enter, the letters are more spread out. I don't know if you observe that. Both of them, I've used 1%. I've used 1% as the track in the letter spacing, but you can see that the one on the right seems to be more spread out than the one on the left. True or false? Can you observe that? So the reason is, as I've said, different typefaces have different behavior, and you need to be able to observe to see what makes sense. So why 1% makes sense here, 1% will not make sense here in terms of letter spacing. So I'm going to take this back to 0, and it gets closer to what it should look like. Okay. And for the line heights, 150% works for both of them. So these are very small things that you need to take note of when working with typefaces to understand what works and what doesn't for the one that you're trying to create. Okay. Any question? Any question? So going back to the slides, I'm going to just round up by saying important things to consider when choosing typefaces. You need to consider personality. You know, what kind of vibe are you trying to give? informal, fun, luxury, very formal. All of those things are important for you when you're making that choice to understand exactly the kind of typeface you should use, the industry you're designing for fintech or for health or for whatever people you're designing for. You need to understand what kind of typefaces that are common in that industry, what other people are using. The tone you're trying to speak to, functionality here is basically what you're speaking about. And another thing you should also know when choosing typefaces is there are typefaces that have limited fonts. Let me go back to font share to show what I'm saying. Um, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, please? Can't hear from it. Okay, okay, great. Yeah. So looking at when I highlight on its specific typeface, you're going to see styles. Styles. So this styles determines the number of fonts that it has inside of it. Let me open up Satoshi, for example. Satoshi has this number of styles is basically the fonts inside of it. So you're going to find regular, medium, metallic, all of those things, light, metallic, regular, all of these things are the styles they have inside of it, and two variables. So why this is important is that when you're creating a big product, you need to have as many options as possible. So when you choose a typeface that doesn't have this number of styles, you're limiting design that might require medium. There are places in your design that require regular. There's some places that require bold or extra bold or whatever. And if you choose a typeface that is limited, maybe only 5 styles or 3 styles or whatever, that means you will not be able to navigate that. Let me give you for example, this chillax has only 6 styles. It's not something you should choose alone for a project. This has 18 styles, which is fine. This has 14, this has 12. This has only one style, so it doesn't work for a project. Maybe if you're doing a graphic design work or whatever, you might use only one. You might use something like this, it's fine. But in UI design, this is also important for you to know. You need to check and see that these typefaces have options. You can go from medium to regular to bold whenever you need to do it. Okay. I hope that is understood. I hope that is understood. So I will in the next class speak about on Figma now. I think most of the theory talking should be done here today. But on Figma, we need to next class create color styles, create typography styles to put into effect what we have learned today in theory. To decide for a project in particular, this is the color we want to use and this is typography we want to use, and create styles for it, and show how to create those styles when making projects. Okay, is that understood? Do you have any questions? All right, that is great. That is great. Kendrick, Kingsley, any question?